All right, it's 4:02 on Monday, October 12th. I'd like to call to order a special meeting of the Wausau Board of Education. And I don't think that I need to read this statement because we are not virtual tonight. Okay, so with that, we're going to get right in to conducting the interviews with the qualified electors of the Wausau School District to fill a vacancy on this board. And the vacancy is for an unexpired term and will be for a term commencing tonight, October 12th, 2020, and running through April 26th, 2021. Those four individuals are Nicholas Bisgrove, Kate Ruling, Mark Holthusen, and Jeff Lee. So we will start with the first individual, Nicholas Bisgrove.
And Mr. Bisgrove, we've got the candidates, the questions, so they don't all hear everybody's answers. So Mr. Bisgrove is on his way. So just for the audience, so they know, each candidate will have 15 minutes with the board. The purpose is to help the board understand the candidate's qualifications and views a little bit beyond what the presentations were 2 weeks ago. And so I've just got a few questions I'm going to ask, and then the board members can clarify beyond that. So we'll get started in just a minute.
We'll be right at the podium.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bisgrove. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good. So thank you for your interest in serving on the board. As I think has been communicated to you, we've got about 15 minutes for the board to get to know you a little bit beyond what we presented 2 weeks ago. And so I've got some questions here I'm going to ask.
Okay.
And then we'll see how that conversation proceeds. Okay. Questions?
And there's time cards. When you get close, I'll let you know when it's 2 minutes, 30 seconds, 30 seconds in time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right. So are you prepared?
I'm ready.
Awesome. All right. Everybody board ready? Excellent. All right. So question number one, Mr. Bisgrove. Could you speak to what do you feel are the main responsibilities of school board members and how you will contribute to meeting those responsibilities?
I think right now is a very interesting time to be on the board. There's a lot on the plate as far as the responsibilities and the consequences of the actions of the board members. I think we all have a goal of trying to provide the best possible situation for every student, and how we do it is going to be very challenging. This isn't going to be very easy to do. Essentially, I think there's two tough decisions placed in front of the board right now. None of them is going to be perfect, and none of them is going to please everybody, but we have to look at what's in the best interest of not only the student's education, but the community and how we go about it. I think losing over 400 students this year has been very rough on the district. I don't know if it's going to be something that we can bring them back, but we have to look ahead and see that we don't lose any more people, that we don't have any more decisions that cost us more students. It's a very challenging time ahead of us. There's a lot of difficult decisions to be made. I think one of the responsibilities of this open position is to really work together as a team to try and not be anybody divisive, but really try and work together. I don't think that this position is going to be, let me back up. Unfortunately, this is going to be the tiebreaker position, but I also don't think that this position should be someone coming in and saying, I'm on this side. I'm not an expert on any of this. I consider myself someone who turns to the experts. We have to listen to the input that the administration gives us, the feedback of what they're doing to try and do this the best way possible. Like I said, there's not going to be an easy answer. It's just going to be a lot of difficult decisions and looking at the numbers, the status, the results, month by month, trying to figure out how we can keep moving forward in this difficult time.
Thank you. Are there any clarifying questions on that? Okay. Second question. Could you describe how you see an effective working relationship between the school board and administration?
I think there has to be an effective working relationship. I don't think we need to be drinking buddies per se, But I think there needs to be a level of honest communication, of trust and integrity. I also believe that the board should hold the administration accountable and have high expectations and expect those to be met. I think that the board really has to work with the administration to do what's best. The board should not be at odds with the administration, but be working partners to achieve goals in this. Is it going to be challenging? Yes. And there's going to be times where the board's decisions aren't necessarily going to be what the administration likes. But if I was chosen for this position, let's lay out a couple of options. Just as I've seen Bob Peck do, or Bob Tess, give different options of what would happen in specific scenarios. And I think that has to be that kind of symbiotic relationship. Like I said, if chosen, I want to work with you, but I also have high expectations of what information you would give to the board and how the communication would flow.
Good, thank you. Any follow-ups? Okay. Third question, could you speak to how you would incorporate feedback from special interest groups or people into decisions that advance the mission of the district in terms of learning, achievement, and success for all students?
I think obviously the feedback from the community, from the special interest is very crucial in this role, in this position. Obviously with the surveys that the administration has done, there has been a lot of feedback from the parents of the students and everything like that. And that is something that needs to be taken into consideration. I think any board member really needs to listen to the taxpayers. It needs to listen to the parents. It needs to listen to the students. That is one of the key things. But sometimes the difficult decisions need to be made. Like I said, you're not going to be able to please everybody with these decisions that are made, but you're going to try and have to do what's best in the interest of not only the district, but the community as well. You know, I genuinely hope that we can achieve for a higher amount of civility in these. I know there's a lot of emotion. I know certain board members have been ostracized for some of their actions and stuff like that, and I want to have a genuine community involvement in this. It's great to see the public participation, but at the same time, there needs to be decorum. There needs to be general rules. We don't need a loud hoot and holler and debate when you guys have work to do. We need to do this together. We need the feedback. We need to be able to spend the time, read emails, and hear what people have to say. We want to know what's best for the community and listen to all the special interests. But at the end of the day, no one's going to like every decision that the board has to be made.
Yeah, thank you very much. So those are the three prepared questions. Were there other clarifying questions that the board needed to ask of Mr. Bisgrove? I think we've got a little time left, but it'd be okay with Mr. Bisgrove. Did you have any final kind of thoughts for the board that you'd like them to consider?
Yeah, like I said, I know this is going to be the odd person out, but with my experience through work, I've been in bands my whole life. It's trying to really work together. There might be a lot of different ideas of how we approach this, but I think the idea is to really work together with everything that each of us bring to the table to try and not get decisive decisions, but more, can we work towards something that's unifying as a board, as a district, to make better decisions? It's not always going to be the easiest decisions to be made, but how can we have productive conversations and really lead us into that area?
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, everyone.
All right.
All right.
We'll let you know how the voting goes later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cassie, if you could, you could let...
Sent the message.
What's that?
I sent the message.
Message sent. All right.
Message sent.
Okay, so our next interview will be with Kay Grueling.
on stage.
So you're going to be right at the podium. I'm going to be keeping time, and I'll show you cards when it gets close to your time being up.
Okay. So I've improved a little, but I'm COVID-free. I haven't tested just to make sure everyone be comfortable. But I still get a little raspy, so I apologize.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I just restarted.
So the purpose of tonight, I've got a few prepared questions that we're asking each of the candidates. Obviously, we appreciate you answering, and then the board may ask some clarifying questions. Before we do, I just want to thank you again for your interest in helping to lead the Wausau School District. And I think Cassie mentioned that she'll keep track of time if we end up getting close. Otherwise, we scheduled 15 minutes for this session. So, are you prepared? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. All right. So the first question is, could you speak to what you feel are the main responsibilities of school board members and how you'll contribute to meeting those responsibilities?
I think for any board, which includes the school board, I think the main role is supervision. People like you know, but is supervision to give the broad overview. As a rule, I don't think it's to do the day-to-day stuff. That doesn't mean you can't have ideas about very specific things, but as a whole, in every other board I'm on, they really expect more input and advising as opposed to expecting and thinking that you're going to change the nitty-gritty of day-to-day things. Some boards I'm on, certainly it's to take information from the public and bring that through on the board. So that would be when topics come up to, I feel like we're not going. That one topic is a good one. When topics come up that, you can say, well, I got lots of calls about X, and there's lots of passion about Y. And I think the other is to really do research, think about why you're supporting what you're supporting or you're not supporting, whatever the case may be. We all have differences of opinions. I have differences of opinion with my husband. We still are married and make it through, but, it's talking about it and seeing why someone believes what they do believe, and then doing the research as much as you can to know about things and to do it in advance, not come to the meeting and say, oh, well, I didn't look at this yet. I need to read it quickly. Well, no, you should come prepared, assuming you could come prepared. It's not something that's newly presented. So yeah, I feel that I have a pretty broad background in both the educational sphere of things, as well as just being a board member and familiar with it. So.
Thank you. Any clarifying questions? All right. Second question then. Could you describe how you feel an effective working relationship between the school board and administration would look?
I guess, again, it comes back to communication and respect. I'm not always going to agree with everything that administration does or says or whatever. It still means we need to be supportive of each other once we come to a consensus on whatever the situation is. How, again, communicating, if that means individually, if that means on the board level, if that means finding supportive evidence and evidence of why one or the other of us feel the way we do. Answer that completely? I don't remember. I feel like there were two parts.
No, it was just describing an effective working relationship between the board and administration.
Right. And again, the respect part, I guess, that's, I feel like a lot of times people don't respect each other very much. And I would draw back to my patient care experiences. I mean, I can tell you, I didn't agree with a lot of stuff that people did, you know, or whatever. That didn't mean that I treated them differently. And some of them, my gosh, they were downright mean to me. I was a woman. I don't never said that, you know, but it's still the idea that you stay calm, you respect them for who you are, again, or who they are. You don't have to agree with them. You look for that common solution and move on from there. And, you know, you can make it work. It's not always going to be perfect, but you can make it work, so.
Good, thank you. Any follow-up? All right.
You know, it's really hard to see eyes when everyone has masks on and then they put glasses too.
Yeah. The lighting varies also. All right. Could you speak to how you would incorporate feedback from, say, special interest groups or people into decisions that advance the learning, achievement, and success of all children?
I guess I wouldn't even bring it down to special interests, but just the interests that people have, and why people have the interests they have. I mean, if it's a paid consultant to push an agenda, that's very different than someone who's part of the constituency. So, I mean, like in anything, if it's a paid constituent, you're going to listen. I think it's a little harder to take as much of their information as credibly, because they clearly have an exact reason why, and there's usually a financial reason for making the decisions that they want you to make. The constituency, again, it goes back, I guess, to the same thing. I would never not listen to someone who doesn't agree with me. I would still listen to them. That doesn't mean I still ultimately have to agree with them if they don't think it's based on anything but, you know, an idea in their head and not backed up by, you know, research or facts or truth. But I still would listen to people. I've had enough times, you know, in my past where people lash out often because I am a woman and I'm the one who has to bear bad news or something. So, you know, you roll with it. And if you can't listen to people who you don't agree with, I mean, we should do that in real life, not just because we're on a school board or some other board. But again, that doesn't mean that if someone who continually calls or continually writes day after day that you need to take every call, because clearly it becomes more of harassment or intimidation rather than trying to express a viewpoint. So, but no, I enjoy hearing other people's viewpoints, and truthfully, in most boards where there is more important decisions that have to be made, I really prefer hearing some other viewpoints, because, I mean, otherwise you get pretty locked into your own ideas. That's why even on Facebook sometimes I leave people on who are threatening to me, literally threatening, but just because I know what they're saying and I can put it in perspective and understand better why they feel what they feel. So.
Good, thank you. Any follow-up questions from the board? Otherwise, do you have anything that we didn't ask that you would like the board to consider before they vote?
I guess I really would look forward to an opportunity to serve on the board. I will promise to always research and look at things as much as I can, get information from varying people, not just people who support my point of view. Yeah, I mean, I'm ready if you're willing. So, and I didn't cough too much, and I do want to say to Lee, you know, he saved me back in the day when I talked about my asthma and stuff. Larry, do you remember? From the cross-country meet back in the day, we showed horses together back in the day, and then I ran cross-country meet, which I guess I went to Maryland, which must have been the smiley, just knowing how things were when my son went through cross country. And I lettered that day, but I had an asthma attack, and parents didn't come to all these things back then. And there was Lee and his wife, and they walked me through to get me back from my asthma attack. So I always have a special spot in my heart for you. But anyway.
Remember the days with the horseback riding.
Oh, I'm sorry if I didn't hear.
I remember the days with the horseback.
So, but anyway, there's always commonality that we all can find, and actually some of my closest medical friends are very different than me politically, but we get along really well because we have other common interests that we like even better, so but anyway, yeah, any other, I mean, I'm happy to answer anything else. Can I ask one other question? I know everyone else by name. Are you Pat McKee? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so then you're Jim. Okay. I can narrow it down to two. They didn't know which one was which. So. Oh, never mind. I was looking at your eyes. So. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, it looks like Mark's ready. Our next interview will be with Mark Holdhusen.
Hello.
Afternoon, Dr. Holdhusen. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good, Mike. Yes.
It's hot.
All right, so I've got a few prepared questions. After each, I'll ask to see if the board has any clarifying questions. And at the end of some time, you'll have a chance to kind of wrap up the points you'd like the board to consider. All right?
Sounds perfect.
And we've got about 15 minutes, and Cassie, down here, if we get close, we'll flash a time.
That's for the 15 minutes, or is there a certain time limit on each question?
No, 15 minutes total. So just
Okay,
15.
so you won't pay for it.
No.
So I don't have to.
All right, everybody ready? Okay. All right, so again, thank you, first of all, for being willing to step into the leadership role to serve the children and the families. We appreciate it, regardless of whatever the outcome is, so thank you for being a part of this.
No problem.
So the first question, could you speak to what you feel are the main responsibilities of school board members and how you would contribute to meeting those responsibilities?
Well, as I understand it, the main responsibility of the school board is to help guide administration, i.e. you, in what path the school board thinks the district should move forward with. And that can be many different ways. I assume most often, as I've seen it, the administration is bringing proposals for the board to discuss, and the board approves some of those proposals as they come forward. And it can work the other way, I assume, as well, where the board sees a problem or hears of a problem through teachers or other administrators or parents that they can bring to the board to help guide superintendent and administration to move the agenda forward for the district. There's a second part of that question. What can I do to help with that?
Correct, yes.
Well, listen, be prepared. When they put together a packet, an agenda packet, look at it before you come to a meeting, would be one of the most important things, I think. Listen to as many sides of it's an argument or a proposal as possible. Get feedback from the community, teachers, principals, whoever the proposal is affecting. I guess being prepared, listening, and thinking critically to come to a decision is what I could most bring to the board.
All right, thank you. Any follow-up questions? All right. Second question. Could you speak to your views on what an effective working relationship between the school board and administration would look like?
Effective relationship. I can go a lot of different ways with that question. Well, I think respect would always be a good thing, going both ways. If you hold respect for people that you're working with and working for and the administration, that can be an important attribute. Gotten off on a, can you repeat the question one more time?
Speak to how you would envision an effective working relationship
Yeah, okay,
with
so-
the administration. Right?
Yeah, so there's that. A lot of it, I feel like, was answered in the original question, in being prepared and listening and working with, not against, the administration. Don't be adversarial. You can disagree about policies, but attacking the person is never going to work. So again, keeping an open mind and just working together as opposed to against one another. It seems like it would be and I know that's kind of a wishy-washy answer. But I guess having never served on the board, I don't know exactly how that relationship entirely works, but it seems to me that keeping that open mind, being educated about the issues, and just working together would be the best way.
All right, thank you. Any follow-up? Third question. How would you incorporate feedback from the community or special interest groups into decisions that advance the mission of advancing the learning, achievement, and success of all students?
That's a tricky one. There's parents that like to email you a lot. I don't know any of those parents that email the board on a regular basis. I'm just kidding. That's me. I think you take the feedback that you're given from the general community, and I think a lot of times you can kind of wade through what's relevant, what is reactionary, and do your best to wade through that, figure out what's important, what isn't important, what is just the passion coming out versus what are the facts. And I imagine that's handled delicately, because I am sure every person that emails you thinks you're on their side and you're going to do what they said because they took the time to write to you, and you're getting feedback from all sides. And I don't necessarily think the right answer is, well, I got 78 emails about this and only 65 emails about this, therefore I'm going to vote this way, right? But I do think you need to listen. I'm not saying don't listen to it, but I think you need to kind of take it with a grain of salt and wade through the relevancy of and the perspective of that feedback that you're receiving.
Thank you. All right. Are there any follow-up questions from the board? All right. Otherwise, Mark, if there's anything that we didn't ask about that you didn't share last time or today that you'd like the board to consider before they vote, this would be a good time to share that.
I just, thanks for giving me the opportunity. Appreciate it. Just felt good to be noticed, I guess. I think any of the four of us that you're talking to tonight would be fine. You guys have a big job, and I hope to be part of the decision-making process. It's a tough time we're going through. Good luck either way. Hopefully I'll join you, but if I don't, then and I know you guys will do what's best for the community, the kids, the teachers, the administration, all of those involved. So I guess that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Did I go over time?
Nope.
And our fourth interview will be with Jeff Lee.
afternoon, Dr. Lee. How are you?
I'm good. This is like lecturing.
Yeah, exactly. You should feel very comfortable. All right. So I've got 3 questions, yeah, and we've got about roughly 15 minutes. If we start to get close to that timeline, Cassidy will alert you. After each question, I'll ask the board if they have any follow-ups, and assuming we have some time at the end, you can make kind of a final statement before they vote. So, are you prepared? Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. And again, before we start the questions, just want to thank you for your interest in being a part of leading this school district and serving the children and families of Wausau. So, with that, we'll get started. Could you speak to what you feel are the main responsibilities of school board members and how you would contribute to meeting those responsibilities?
Sure. Well, school board members, of course, have the responsibility of representing the public before the administration. It's one of the important duties, I think, in that you all are of the community, you're from the community, you represent them, and you can bring perspectives that often a person, particularly if they're coming from the outside, isn't going to have right away. So that's an important aspect of what school board members do. School board members, of course, have to be well-versed on educational issues. School board members have to be well familiar with the district, with the infrastructure, with the staff, etc. And they have to, of course, be willing to put the needs of the district, of the kids, and of the board first before their own personal views. So that's a very important aspect of what I think I would look for if I were to recommend that somebody be on the school board.
Thank you. Any follow-up? Okay. Second question. Could you speak to your views on what an effective working relationship between the school board and administration would be?
Sure, it's absolutely essential, and I've seen over the years problems arise when you're not on the same sheet of music, and that doesn't mean agreeing with each other. Of course, if we're expected to agree with each other, we don't need one person, and everybody else would be simply superfluous. So you're supposed to, of course, maintain a level of respect, which means being willing to call one another the carpet when they have been disrespectful, and to do it, though, in a professional way that builds the capacity of the board. So within the board, the members have to treat each other well. Ideally, out in public, they speak with one voice, supporting whatever the board has decided. With the superintendent and with the district staff as a whole, they need to maintain that positive relationship. Even if they're going to disagree on an issue, they have to be able to leave that meeting having built the relationship with one another. Those should be stronger, particularly if it's a particularly hot-button issue. If things become heated, the most important thing is making sure that you leave on a friendly basis.
Thank you. Any follow-up? Okay. Third question then. Could you speak to how you incorporate feedback from the community or special interest groups or people into decisions that advance the learning, achievement, and success of all students?
Well, it's a difficult thing because whenever you're told anything from anyone, you have to be able to filter it. Right? You have to be able to understand where that person's coming from, why it's important to them, why it has the important emotional content that it does for them. So in other words, you have to be able to look at the source and evaluate the source. That doesn't mean deciding if they're right or wrong. It means rather just understanding why they're thinking the way that they are. And so you take that information and without, of course, always revealing your sources, you test it out with the other information that you get. And when you find discrepancies, you find ways to try to go and dig a little bit deeper and find out why those are. And often, it's not simply a contradiction. Sometimes it's a matter of two people having taught past one another. One person's saying one thing, another is going in a different direction, and they're not necessarily that far in disagreement with one another. So again, you try to vet all of your sources, you find new avenues with each thing that you hear, and you check it out to the best of your ability. And at the end of the day, you're one of 9 just doing the best job you can. And so you do, and you get where you can, and again, continue to work for the benefit of the whole.
Thank you. Any follow-up? Okay. Dr. Lee, if you had any closing statement that you'd like the board to consider before they vote.
No, I was very much enjoying my retirement. I was very impressed that 13 people stepped forward. This is a very difficult time. This is probably the hardest time that you all have ever had on the board. I think harder than any time previously while I was on the board. But I thought, I would give you the choice of deciding if you wanted me to come back just to pitch it for 6 months. Okay, I'm not planning to run in April, but I'm a historian and not a prognosticator. And so I won't try to pretend with the weather that I'm going to know what the weather's going to be like come April. But my intention would be just to fill in for Teresa and then let the board start anew after that day. So I wouldn't be coming in as a candidate trying to position myself for the next election. So thank you all very much. You all, of course, know who I am. You know when I'm capable. I wear tweeds, so you know who you're talking to. And thank you very much for your service, particularly now.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you. Here, we will I'll speak a little bit to the voting process. So in our policy, it does speak to the process. We use what's called a preferential voting. So we created a ballot. What we'd like you to do, it says so on here, but just if you take your top vote or top choice, put a 1 there and down 2, 3, 4. So vote for all the candidates, 1 through 4. And at the end, then we will, Cassie and I will add up your voting preference, and hopefully, with any luck, we'll have someone to fill our vacancy. So I'll pass those out now.
Can I send the message to have them all come back for this part, or?
I think that would be good. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
So, according to the agenda, we do have it agendized that we could motion to go into closed session. I don't see any need, but I'm just pointing that out, that is on the agenda. Okay, so we're not taking a motion on that, so I think it is appropriate to bring the individuals back. It also, then agenda item 4 says discussion and potential action. Again, I personally don't see need for discussion. Just kind of reading the room up here. Doesn't sound like it. Okay. I realized we were folding them. There we go.
Good. Thanks. All right. So we do have a majority, and again, to abide by the policy, and this is a public vote, we'll read the name of each board member and who their top preference was, and then we'll announce the winner. So Pat McKee was Jeff Lee, Jim Boucher was Jeff Lee. I can't read that one, I'm sorry. Hold on. Okay. One non-signature. Lance Trollope was Jeff Lee. Tricia Zunker was Jeff Lee. Okay. I got it. So then that Martin was Jeff Lee. Do you know signatures? Jane voted for Kay Grueling. Gotcha. Katna voted for Kay Grueling. So who did I miss? I'm sorry.
Lee and Jim.
Jim. Gotcha. Voted for Jeff Lee. So we do have a
Did we say Lee?
6-2. What's that? Did I not call your name, Lee?
Yeah, you called mine off first.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Oh, I'm
Lee.
sorry. That was Lee. Okay, so Lee Webster voted for Jeff Lee. So that is a 6-2, correct? 6-2. So Jeff Lee has been elected to fill the vacant seat.
Okay.
Thank you all. And at this point, we would be swearing Dr. Lee in so he can accept his seat to fill the vacant seat for Teresa Miles. So, Jeff, are you here? Congratulations. And again, thanks to all the candidates for being willing to serve the families. Appreciate you being interested in the work of the board. So, congratulations, Dr. Lee. Cassie will swear you in.
I, Jeff Lee, having been appointed to the office of the Wausau District Board, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
Swear that I will support
swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability. So help me God.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Lee, and welcome back. Hope you enjoyed your break. It's a really great time to join us. Appreciate that. So with that, I am seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Wait for me. Okay, so we had a first, was that Pat from Vice President McKee and a second from Jim Boucher. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.